saw a lot of different industries yesterday, and now a totally different one, healthcare. And of course, it will be from the Philips perspective. So a few words on Philips, because a lot of people know Philips from the past, where we were quite diversified. And yesterday also someone asked me, you also have lighting? No, we don't have lighting anymore. We're now focusing since 2016 completely on healthcare. And basically in three regions, three areas. First of all, on the left, you see diagnosis and treatment, so that it's in the hospital. Then the second part is connected care, patient monitoring, but also patient monitoring at home. Also managing chronically ill patients at home. And then the third area at the right is personal health. So this is more 100% healthy people at home. For example, our healthcare business supports that. And we have a motto in Philips. Basically what we want to do, and I will explain what I mean with that. We want to address the quadruple aim across the whole health continuum. That's a mouthful, but let me explain first the health continuum. You see here in the middle, you see the continuum, healthy living, prevention, diagnosis, treatment, home care. What do we mean with that? We want to have a smooth flow between the different phases. So if you are healthy, of course, we want to keep you healthy. But if you are in a stage that you need to prevent illness, also the transition from healthy living to prevention should be smooth. Then if you become ill, there should also be a smooth transition from all aspects to the diagnosis, so the in-hospital part. Then from the diagnosis to treatment, if you look at current healthcare, that there are quite some silos, so quite some problems to for example, transfer data from one location to another other location. So we also want to smooth that transition. And finally, if you are discharged from hospital or you stay at home to manage your chronic condition, or if you are completely healthy again, also that transition should be very smooth. That's what we want to achieve with the solutions that we bring. Then the second thing is quadruple aim. What do we mean with that? That's shown at the bottom of this page. So if you talk about quadruple aim, it's, of course, we talk about people, we talk about patients. So first of all, it's about better health outcomes. Then second of all, and I will show that in the next slide, the cost of healthcare is increasing dramatically. So we also need to take care that solutions take care of lower costs. Then third and fourth, of course, the experience of the patient, but also of the staff has to be better than before. Then if you now look at global healthcare, for those who don't know that, the spending that we do worldwide on healthcare is increasing every year between 4 and 5%. And if you look here in this picture on the left, United States, almost 17% of GDP. And that in numbers, that is almost $4 trillion per year. If you then look to Germany, 11% in 2018, and that accounts for, I think, 360 billion. So also considerable amount every year, increasing significantly. So a big problem. Then if I compare healthcare with other areas where you apply digital twin, there are some differences that are important if you want to develop digital twins. First of all, healthcare is very strictly regulated. Obviously, because you have to take care of the privacy of the patients. That's one thing. The other thing is, if you bring solutions to the healthcare arena, they have to be absolutely safe. So that's also why it's very strictly regulated. Then the second thing is, which I think is also a very important difference, in healthcare, the human is almost always at the center, whether it is the patient or whether it is the healthcare professional. And when the human is in the center, we also talk about behavior, and that has an influence on what you can do with digital twins. A third aspect is decision making. If I have a machine and I want to build a digital twin, and the digital twin should control the machine, I don't necessarily have to take care of decisions of humans. If I want to make a decision on the health of a person, there are several players that have an influence on that. First of all, of course, the patient. Patient can decide, I'm not going to do this, or I am going to do this. Then, of course, the healthcare professional, or the nurse, but also the payer. In healthcare, care is reimbursed. If it's not reimbursed, then the payer will not pay, and then healthcare professionals will not choose certain solutions. So different stakeholders there. Then another difference is that providing healthcare is a real ecosystem play. There is almost no vertical integration. So we have to deal with not one hospital, but multiple hospitals. A patient not necessarily only receives care from one hospital, sometimes transferred to another hospital. We have outpatient facilities. You have care at home, etc., etc. So it's an ecosystem play. And finally, on the input side, data. In a machine, I can measure a lot. Sometimes I need to have virtual sensors. We also saw that yesterday. In patients, I cannot measure everything. You can even say I cannot measure a lot. And if I measure, it's a question, how accurate is that? A very simple blood pressure measurement in the hospital is most likely not very accurate because the patient is in stress. This morning I even saw a publication where for people who have a heart disease and they need to have a coronary exam, that to have better results of the coronary exam, the heart rate should be relatively low. Well, most people are in stress, so the results are also not that accurate. So quite some factors that you could even say limit the applicability of digital twins. So what is Philips now doing? I depicted here the areas where we are touching upon digital twin. And on the left side, you see the R&D space. And on the right side, you see the operational and clinical space. And basically, for us, they are not independent. Because if I want to do predictive maintenance of our imaging systems in the field, top right, then I need to already develop models in the R&D space. And the models there are used to optimize the design. But of course, I can use the same models to also do the predictive maintenance. If I look at device digital twins, the third one on the right, you can use that in clinical practice to interact with the virtual patient to optimize diagnosis or optimize treatment planning. And I'll show an example later. But of course, I can already develop the device models in the R&D space, again, to optimize the design there and to virtually test the device also better. Then on hospital level, you can virtually design hospitals. At the same time, when I can do that, I can also use that as a foundation to, in the end, have a hospital digital twin. So where you manage all the operational and clinical flows in hospital. So you measure then everything. You measure how many beds are occupied by patients. What is the in and outflow of patients? What is the availability of staff? These kind of things. You can all measure that. And then at the center, we have the patient digital twin on the right, which I will explain in more detail later. And at the R&D side, of course, we don't develop patients, but we use virtual patient models, categories or cohorts of patients to test our systems and our devices. So in that way, we try to use digital twin technology. So I will first go to the, I would almost say, more traditional example of the predictive maintenance of our imaging systems in the field. And why is that important? Of course, you want to have as low as possible unplanned downtime of the imaging systems in the hospital. And what is the value of that? The value is that it enables trustworthy scheduling of medical exams. And why is that important? So feedback that we get from our clinical partners is, top one, want to eliminate unplanned downtime because I have to send patients home. Patients travel to the hospital, sometimes hours, and if the equipment is not working, you have to send them back at home. And they need that exam, so they are stressed. They have to reschedule the exam, takes a lot of time. So that is really not good and not appreciated by the hospitals too. And at the same time, they say, yeah, we understand there needs to be maintenance, but then plan it on a time where we don't have patients. Quite obvious, but difficult to solve. If you look at the different types of imaging systems that we have, a lot. We have MRI, top left. We have Azurian platform for minimally invasive interventions. We have CT scanners, bottom left, and the internal of the CT, you see at the right. It's a complex machine. And also, if you look at the MRI, top left, of course, as a patient, you see only one room, the room where the MRI scanner is in. In reality, to operate an MRI scanner, you need 3 rooms: examination room, operation room, technical room. Very complex machine, superconducting magnet in there at a very low temperature, millions lines of codes, a lot of components. So you have to, if you want to do something with digital twin, it's a very complex environment. Another thing is, if we put medical equipment in hospital, it stays there for 10 to 15 years. So you can imagine the equipment that we now have in hospitals were designed 10, 15, even 20 years ago. They were not designed back then to have a digital twin. So that's another challenge, because if it's not designed like that, then you also don't extract all the relevant data that you need. So we had a few challenges. And if you look at our systems, and in this case MRI, so we collect a lot of data. Event and error logs, sensor data, and on average, just to give you an impression, every day MRI scanner logs 1 million events, 200,000 sensor readings, and tens of thousands of other data elements. The challenge for us was we have to integrate the data from the different data sources because they are stored in different sources, and we have to create predictive models to be able to proactively do maintenance to prevent that parts are failing. So how did we tackle that? First of all the data, there was quite an effort to create one database where you can put in all the historical data from the scanner. And then for every use case, and the use case is a potential failure mode of that system, and for the most important ones, we started with the most important ones, we set up a team. So per failure mode, a team of a few people. A business owner, a data scientist, subject matter expert. That team tried to understand the failure mode, and then from that understanding develops a predictive model, can be a simulation model or artificial intelligence model, or a combination of the two. And that model was then added to the total package of models that we use to do predictive maintenance. Additionally, obviously, if you have these insights, you bring it back to the R&D phase for the next generation of machines to improve the product. So where are we now? With all our imaging systems, we have a lot. We have now more than 20,000 connected. We have more than 80 different data sources integrated. So you can imagine 80 different data sources. That's a lot of interfacing. We have more than 200 predictive models that we use. So also if I talk about a digital twin of a system, in this case, it's not one model. It's not, digital twin is not one model. It consists of multiple models. We do live updates 24/7. A lot of historic data available, and we are now above 99% uptime. So that's very good. So that's, in my view, the more traditional part. And of course, healthcare is an industry that applies digital twin only recently. So when I say traditionally, It's traditional for other industries, but for healthcare, it's still relatively new. But now the in my view, very exciting part is on patients digital twins. And patient digital twin have a big value because if you can predict something in a virtual world on what will happen or can happen to a patient in certain situations, then of course you can take action as a clinician to prevent that from happening, or you can choose the optimal treatment decision. And that is a big value, and it's directly related to the cost I mentioned of healthcare, because a lot of interventions, they have a lot of side effects, or a lot of interventions also create follow-up interventions because, for example, a heart valve patient, you place an artificial valve in there, and the artificial valve interacts with the heart in such a way that the patient also needs a pacemaker. That's something that you don't want, but it happens a lot. So if you can prevent these things, or if you can prevent that people that were discharged from hospital need to enter the hospital again very soon, that helps. So, patient digital twin. What is it then? Basically, the building blocks are the same as for every digital twin. So on the left side, we have a lot of input data on the specific patient. So from the EMR, from imaging studies, genomic profiling, also family history is very important. But we also have a few other things, population health data, so big cohorts that are comparable to you as a patient, and also increasingly wearable devices. That mixture will in the future be stronger, and wearable devices will definitely have a very big positive impact. Then in the center part, I would say the heart of the patient digital twin is the in silico intelligence. And the in silico intelligence consists of three parts. We have AI models, so data-based models. We have knowledge-based models. And we also feed in the expert knowledge. That is the heart of the patient digital twin. But that's nice. And also yesterday we had a discussion about purpose. It's about the right side of this picture. What do you do with the in silico intelligence combined with the data? It should provide value in the sense I should add insights to the clinician on the current status of a patient. I should be able to predict the future status. And you can argue a lot about what is future. Is that immediately, a year or 2 years, etc. And I should be able to compare different treatment scenarios. If I can do that, I have value. And the value for the healthcare professional is faster, better informed decision making, and ultimately first time right. And for the patient, obviously shorter patient pathways, less side effects, less follow-up procedures, and less readmissions. A small word on how personal is a patient digital twin. I already said on one of the first slides that one of the challenges on patients is that you have limitations and challenges in measuring data on a patient. So my statement is you will never have 100% personalized patient digital twin. Will not happen now, will not happen in 50 years. So you always have a combination of patient-specific data and cohort data. And cohort data means I have a big database of similar patients like yourself. That patients, those patients already went to a complete care path. We know a lot of things. We know outcomes. We know certain measurement data. You take averages of those data and put them also in a patient digital twin. So it's a combination of cohort data and personalized data. And if you then look at the health continuum, the balance between the two is different at different stages. Of course, healthy living, the dark blue means cohort data. So in healthy living, you don't measure a lot. We have the personal devices, but doesn't measure a lot. So it's mainly, you could say, a cohort digital twin. As soon as you go in a real medical trajectory, it's getting a little bit more personalized, and you get data from the GP, and if you are in hospital, you get imaging data. So the balance is shifting. So it's getting more personal. In treatment phase, the balance is more towards real personalized data, and if you again go home, the balance is shifting again. So you have to take care of that in your patient digital twin. And at the bottom, I showed that ultimately you want to reduce the cohort size as much as possible, because that would mean that you have more accurate, personalized predictions. But I put a question mark to the single person because, in all fairness, I don't believe that you can reach that. Then a few words, and I will be fast on this one, on the patient-specific models. I already mentioned that the heart of a patient digital twin is a combination of data-based models, knowledge-based models, and expert knowledge. And here I sketch different types of models that you may need, not always, but sometimes you need one or another or a combination of those. And maybe the most important picture is bottom left. In a patient care part, you have different decision points. And in the different decision points, you want to add value. But it doesn't mean that I need exactly the same models in the decision point in the diagnosis phase as in the treatment phase or in the monitoring phase in home care. So in my digital twin, I also need to be clever and combine different models for different decision points. So it's quite complex. Then on value, I said you have to be able to give insights to the clinician to make a right decision. And of course, you should be able to quantify that. And here I give 3 examples. So suppose heart patient with heart valve disease, after a valve procedure, you can measure the readmission rate of those patients. And normally that's measured 30 or 60 days after release from hospital. You can measure the reduction in readmission rates if you use a heart valve model to virtually predict the best artificial valve that you have to use and the best position in the heart. So that can be made very tangible. Another heart disease-related thing is reduction in follow-up procedures. So if I have a problem with the electrical signals in my heart, disturbances there, then one of the procedures is, okay, we're going to ablate tissue, so burn tissue, so that some disturbing electrical signals will not proceed anymore. In reality, 30% of the patients who undergo such a procedure have to come back for a follow-up ablation because the first one was not good enough. Well, there are tests being done in clinical practice of several companies to use virtual models to predict the right ablation location and also to predict whether there is a follow-up ablation needed so that the cardiologist can do it immediately. So you can also measure the reduction in follow-up ablation procedures, tangible result. And the last one here as an example, the length of stay reduction. If I am able, that's more a general one, I would say, also more difficult to really prove that the effect of digital twin was there. But you could imagine if you have an algorithm predicting when a patient can be discharged safely, so all the signs are on green, then you could create a reduction in length of stay. There are already hospitals that are practicing with that. So you can make it tangible. Then a short word on examples that are already there. On the left side, you see the Philips heart model. And top left, you see, basically, we have an ultrasound image. Ultrasound image is very difficult to understand, basically, also for clinicians. So we translate that ultrasound image automatically in a detailed anatomical model of the patient's heart. That's step 1. Step 2 is that we also automatically calculate certain physiological parameters of that patient's heart, and also give those results to the clinician. This already, it's quite simple, you could say, but it already has value because, first of all, if you ask two clinicians to come with the physiological parameters from the ultrasound, they come with different results. So you solve that problem because you automatically do that. And second of all, they need quite some time to do that. And we also have, I think, between 60 and 80% reduction in time to do that. So it saves time. And bottom left, you see that's also already used in clinical practice in treatment to support real-time interventions. So you could say real-time intervention guidance. Middle and right part are two startup companies. The middle one, Sim & Cure, the right one, FIOPS. And basically they're doing the same, but in a different area. The middle one is focusing on brain aneurysms. And what kind of stents do you need to use there to mitigate the potential risk of the patient? So you combine basically a virtual model of a part of the brain of the patient with a virtual model of stent. Combine that in one model. You look at the interactions between the two, and you can play with different stents, and you can see what is the best solution for the patient. The white one, FEOPS, that is the example on the heart valves, where you virtually combine different stents with the patient-specific model. You can interact, it's also dynamically, and you can predict what is the best size of the stent, the best position to mitigate side effects. Both examples we combined in one of our platforms that we use in minimally invasive interventions, the Azurion platform, and is tested out with clinicians to see the added value. And the first tests are quite promising. So first steps, you could say, towards digital twin, but these are promising. Then I want to, on the next slide, I will show a movie on the vision that we have, and it basically tells a little bit the story that I just explained, but then in a nice movie.
Imagine a future where personalized healthcare will provide every individual the right type of care in the right way and at the right time. Imagine that every patient has a digital twin, a virtual representation of his health status. Let's explore how this could play a significant role when Mr. Clark, who has been diagnosed with atrial fibrillation, is seeing Dr. Sullivan, his cardiologist. Although AF is a highly prevalent disease, it can be complicated to decide on the individual treatment strategy for a patient like Mr. Clark. This is where his digital twin comes in. It starts by using Mr. Clark's medical data to create a patient-specific biophysical model, including a virtual version of his heart, which looks, behaves, and reacts just like the real one. Through a seamless flow of data and advanced analytics capabilities enabled by Philips Health Suite, Dr. Sullivan can connect Mr. Clark's digital twin with intelligence on similar cases and select ablation as the therapy with the best possible predicted outcome for him, both on the short and on the long term. Dr. Sullivan carefully plans the procedure by simulating various ablation scenarios on Mr. Clark's digital twin. This enables her to select the one with the optimal computed result. The chosen ideal scenario forms the basis for real-time intervention guidance. During the procedure, all taken actions, as well as any unforeseen situations, are processed real-time into Mr. Clark's digital twin to redirect if necessary. As a result, Mr. Clark received his treatment at the right time, in the right way, with the best possible outcome. This is one of many potential cases in which the digital twin adds value to the healthcare system. From personalized diagnosis and therapy selection to procedure planning and guidance, tailored to the patient's physical characteristics, medical history, current condition, and future needs. Innovation and you, Philips.
So this is not a product yet, it's a vision. At the same time, when I show this and you see the heart, this vision related to the heart is closer by than you think. I already gave you a few examples on where things are happening. And I think, to be honest, within a few years, focus on the heart, we will use digital twins in clinical practice on a regular basis. Of course, when I say we're talking about a patient digital twin, a complete patient, that is something for the far future. To be honest, in healthcare, we don't understand everything yet. So that is a challenge. The interaction between the different systems in a human being, also very complex. So we will make progress. And when I say we, it's not only Philips, but also the other players in the ecosystem. And we will combine different organs, but it will take time. So let me then go to the conclusions, seeing the time. So if you look at healthcare, I think if you look at healthcare digital twins, we are behind other industries. We are a relative late follower, to be honest. It's also because healthcare is quite conservative. Nevertheless, we started. On systems level, I think we are already quite mature. Not only on predictive maintenance, but also on hospital digital twin level. On patient digital twin, a lot of things is happening because a lot of people see the value, but we're just scratching the surface, to be honest. The second thing is, that is also our motto, we only develop a specific digital twin if we know that it has large value for our customers, and our customers are the clinicians in the hospitals. So we also have a lot of interactions with them to see what now adds value for them. And let me end by the opportunities for applying, especially patient digital twin in healthcare are huge, seeing the rising costs. I think we can have a huge cost impact. First proof points are there, but still a long way to go. Thank you.